What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Today we're checking out Feature History Rise of the Mongols. I was actually doing Fall of the Mongols until I realized there was a Rise of the Mongols that we have to watch first. So yeah, we're gonna watch this one first, and then next video we'll watch Fall of the Mongols from Feature History. Yeah, the Mongols, I think I kind of originate from there on one side of my family. One side of my family is Turkish, which means there's a chance they originate from Mongolia and from the Mongol era, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'd probably have to do that 23andMe test or like some ancestry test, you know, one of those DNA tests. But yeah, be sure to suggest any videos you want to see in the comments. Subscribe, help us get to that 100 subscriber mark as quick as possible. And yeah, let's get into this video.
This video is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Get 31 days of streaming completely and to hear more. Hello and welcome to Feature History, featuring the Mongol Empire. The empire is well known amongst everyone. It's the largest contiguous empire to ever exist. It was ruled by Genghis Khan. They had horses and bows, they lived in tents, and I
know about the bows.
Actually, that's about where it stops. If you think about it, we don't actually know that much about Mongols. And so to get a better understanding of it, we can read up about them and actually figure out where the Mongols came from, what they did and where they went. And then you can make a video about them. But don't, because that's what I'm doing. So in today's episode, we'll be covering the rise of the Mongols under Genghis, how they grew as rapidly as they did, and what it actually meant in the grand scheme of things. After that, you'll have to wait until the next episode to figure out where it all went.
A few things I know about them is I know about they had smaller bows. Was that Attila the Hun or was that Genghis Khan? I think it might have been Genghis Khan. They had small bows, like much smaller bows for close range combat. So on the horses, when they were like on horses, they could easily, you know, hit more targets and kill people a lot quicker with bows. In terms of, I think he had kind of revolutionary war tactics as well, Genghis Khan. I think he was one of those great warrior types, you know what I mean? Like Alexander the Great-esque guys who win almost every battle they fight, stuff like that. But yeah, let's get into this. Also, I'm pretty sure the fall, when we get to the fall, that was due to Genghis Khan deciding to send his sons in all different directions. And then it started to break down from there as they all wanted their own peace. But let's continue.
Central steppes of Asia are an incredibly remote and desolate place, sustaining a quite small population of hardy people. That's how it is today. It was even harder in the 12th century. The land belonged to the nomadic Mongol and Turkic clans, who were often in conflict with each other, whether it was over scarce resources, personal rivalries, or some fabricated dispute encouraged by the clan's powerful neighbours. It was given their harsh environment and perpetuating wars, the clans of the steppe remained stuck while other parts of the world were transitioning through their High Middle Ages, their Islamic Golden Ages, and their Chinese ages. However, it'd be approaching the 13th century, the steppe's climate changed. It was warmer, food was plentiful, and on top of this, China's political climate changed. As being split between multiple dynasties, they descended into their own power squabbles.
We've seen a video
in this period of opportunity, the boy Temujin was born. In year 11...
From Oversimplified, we saw a video of 3 Kingdoms. You can check that out if you were interested in that.
He was the son of Yesugei, the ruler of the Kameg Mongol, one of 5 tribal confederations in the region. When Temujin was only 9 years old, his father was poisoned by the rival Tatars. So his father's confederation entered a power vacuum and Temujin was thrust into the harsh nomadic reality that was Mongol life. In his attempts to regain power, he'd marry into a friendly tribe with his first wife Borte at age 16. She was quickly abducted by another rival tribe, the Merkits, and so Temujin turned to a tribal leader and blood brother of Yesugei, Toghrul Khan. Temujin, alongside his own blood brother Jamuka, were granted command of 20,000 warriors. With them, they stormed the Merkit camp, rescuing Borte and claiming an easy victory. However, with newfound power, Temujin found rivals. Temujin, perhaps because of his struggled upbringing, ranked his men not on their heritage, but their merit and loyalty to him. And in Temujin's continued campaigns against his enemies, he would take conquered civilians under his protection, building a force of loyal subjects. This all clashed with Jamuka's traditional Mongol views, and as the new methods proved effective, he felt threatened by Temujin. Jamuka would turn on Temujin and decisively defeat his army in 1187, 70 of the captives were boiled alive.
What?
Temujin,
They. That's crazy. That's insane. They boiled them alive. The Mongols, I knew they were savage, you know? Because I've seen a few videos or documentaries on torture and stuff like that, but boiling people alive, that's something different.
would disappear for 10 years, only seeming to return to prominence when he was recruited by the Jin dynasty. The Jin sought to punish the Tatars, and Temujin was recruited to command part of the attack, and for his services was restored into a position of power. With a new army rallied together, he would employ a new decimal system amongst his ranks, giving him the proper military organisation needed to gain the upper hand. Toghrul Khan would join Jamuka to defend against Temujin's new force, and Jamuka would be proclaimed the Gur Khan, universal ruler. However, Jamuka's universal rule was proclaimed a bit early, because across Temujin's campaign, Toghrul and Jamuka would be defeated, and Jamuka was turned into Temujin by his own men. Temujin would have those men put to death, and offered Jamuka to join him once again.
Why?
Jamuka would respond, there can only be one son, and at his request was put to a noble death. After Jamuka's coalition fell, Temujin would see to it the rest of the tribes were subdued or united. By 1206, the once disparate and warring factions of the steppe had been united as one political and military force, and Temujin was renamed under Genghis Khan, the actual universal ruler. With the perpetually rivaled
I missed that.
Temujin was renamed under Genghis Khan, the actual universal ruler.
So he was named Genghis Khan.
With the perpetually rivaled tribes united, Genghis thought to spread his early empire, he'd first conquer its former oppressors, starting with the Western Shah, the smallest of the three main Chinese dynasties. The Mongols had for a long time raided the Shah's frontier, but under Genghis they would be mobilized as a rapid cavalry-based army and swarm the empire, forcing the Shah as a vassal in only 5 years. The neighbouring Jin dynasty had blissfully ignored this conquest. The Mongols were their tributaries after all, subservient to the mighty Jin. The Jin had long extracted tribute from and exercised punitive expeditions against the tribes, and when they came to demand tribute again in 1211, they expected more of the same. Genghis, however, would respond only by spitting on the ground and riding off on his horse, just about the least verbal declaration of war you could manage. For a war against the much larger dynasty, the Mongols would mobilize 90% of all their forces, close to 100,000 men, and holding a firm numbers advantage.
It's a lot of people.
The hordes would meet the Great Wall, go around it, and then meet the Jin forces. However, it'd be in their earliest battle.
Was the Great Wall of China actually, I'm trying to think of the right words. I'm assuming it was useful. I mean, nowadays it doesn't really look that big, but I think it's on some sort of hill, which makes it worse. I don't know, man. Like, was the Great Wall of China actually effective, like, to do its job? I assume it was.
The Jin's biggest weakness was exploited, their questionable loyalty. The messengers that met with Genghis to request his surrender actually decided they'd tell Genghis where the Jin armies were positioned, leading to a decisive massacre. As the Mongol hordes pillaged their way through North China, Genghis made sure to spare those who could be useful to him. Siege warfare was an unknown to the Mongols, but by capturing and recruiting Chinese engineers, they could quickly learn the tactics of sieging, and better yet, the well-kept secrets of gunpowder. They'd put all they'd learnt to the test when they besieged the capital of Beijing, and proving successful, they forced the Jin to concede defeat. The Jin would become the new tributary of their former tributaries in 1214. Genghis would then lead the majority of the armies back home, as his loyal general Jebe would do a bit of on-the-side conquering on the remnants of the old Liao dynasty in the west. The Mongol Empire had quickly grown and dominated its once powerful neighbours. It established itself as the largest conglomerate of nomadic tribes and as one of the strongest Asian powers. It was at this point Genghis sought to build relations with nearby states, sending his envoys and caravans far west to the Persian Khwarezmian Empire in 1218. While the envoys offered trade and diplomacy, Word had swiftly spread of the Mongols' conquest and brutality. The Shah, Ala ad-Din Muhammad II, had no interest in relations with barbarians. All 450 of Genghis' people were put to death, and when news reached the Khan,
That can't be good. Putting all his people to death. I was gonna say the music that he uses in this is actually really good.
he flew into a rage. The wars the Mongols had fought had seen their fair share of bloodshed and cruelty, but the campaign against Khwarezmia would be on a whole different scale. A multi-pronged invasion overran the empire. Any resistance saw whole cities put to death, not just the men, but the women and children too. The Shah would flee, but was stopped literally dead in his tracks when he passed from illness in 1220. His son, Jalal ad-Din Mingburnu, would now be left with the disaster. He too would flee, attempting to escape through Afghanistan while under pursuit. He was able to rally 30,000 Afghan warriors on top of his own forces, and outnumbering his Mongol pursuers 2-1, was able to defeat the rookie general and escape, offering the first major blow to the facade of Mongol invulnerability. The story quickly spread to cities in Khwarezmia and all the way back to East Asia. The Mongols had been defeated. People began to rebel against Mongol conquest, and so Genghis knew he had to get Jalal-ad-Din. His army made forced march in pursuit and met Jalal's forces as he attempted to cross the Indus River. Refugees and troops were massacred as the Shah narrowly slipped away into India. With the Shah gone, the Khwarezmian Empire was defeated, but Genghis was left with rebellion across his empire. The Khan made way with the main Mongol force to quell the uprisings, but his talented generals Jebei and Subutai were ordered to raid west, and they would reach as far west as the Caucasus. While on campaign against the rebelling Jin, Genghis would fall from his horse. Tired and weak, he'd die soon after at the age of 65 in 1227. The empire left in his wake.
He lived until 65, 67. That's quite long for a guy to live in those times, no?
Stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea, and generals from all over would unite in the Mongol homeland to form a council, the Kurultai. The empire was to be divvied out amongst Genghis's 4 sons.
There you go.
His eldest, Joki, was born shortly after Borte's kidnapping, so his legitimacy was questionable. However, Genghis treated him as a son regardless. Joki was to inherit the westernmost part of the empire, but given that he died before his father, it was left to his son, Genghis's grandson, Batu. Chagatai, the second son, was the biggest critic of Joki's legitimacy and was considered quite a hothead. He was left with Central Asia as his domain. The youngest, Tolu, inherited the traditional Mongol heartlands, while it would be the charismatic, popular, and named successor Ogadai, the third son, who was declared the Great Khan, the Khan of Khans, the Mongol Emperor. So, while the empire was split into several Khanates, all would answer to Ogadai Khan. At least, that was the idea. Ogadai would begin his reign by claiming vengeance on the traitorous Jin, who on top of breaking their tributary status, had moved further south to Kaifeng. Many defected or surrendered to the Mongol forces, and the new capital had fallen by 1232. The Mongols claimed a total conquest of the Jin. It would be from here on out, Ogadai grew even more ambitious. Ogadai would continue his campaign through China, bringing war to the Song dynasty in southern China. At the same time, an invasion of Korea was ordered, the construction of a permanent Mongol capital in Karakoram began, and Ogadai's nephew, Batu, would begin a full-scale invasion far west into the Kievan Rus, modern-day Russia. The Song dynasty would be pushed back across the Yangtze, but the Mongols struggled to hold much ground past the river, leading to a firm stalemate between the two powers. The invasion in Korea would see initial gains also come to a halt, needing campaign after campaign to finally defeat the Goryeo in 1259, well past Ogadai's time. Batu would prove very successful in the west though. The East Slavs were quickly defeated by the Mongol hordes and forced into submission. Batu pushed further out, claiming victories over the kingdoms of the Caucasus, Poland, Austria, Bulgaria, and more. The fragmented European kingdoms stood no chance against the Mongol advance. Knights and footmen were not equipped to resist rapid Mongol horsemen, and the cities were not prepared for the shock of gunpowder weaponry and the horror of Mongol brutality. Batu took a decisive victory against the Kingdom of Hungary in 1241, and it became clear the rest of Europe lay at the mercy of Mongol dominance. But then, Ogadai died. With no clear heir, it was crucial old Khans returned to the homeland to form a new Kurultai. So Batu and his armies rode east. Europe was spared. The Mongol Empire found itself in the regency of Ogadai's wife, Terenge, for 5 years as Genghis's children and grandchildren came to an impasse. The cracks in the empire began to show. Conquest was seeming to reach its natural limit, and the fall of the Mongol Empire beckoned as it appeared you couldn't govern on horseback. That's not to say the empire was strictly chaotic. Alongside the wars and conquests, there was the building of trade routes, religious freedoms, and meritocratic society. Under Genghis and his descendants, the world began to become further connected than it had been in a long time. The famous Silk Road began to be reopened by the Mongols, and a link between East and West was born. You can see more about the trade route and the cultures it connected in Curiosity Stream's series, The Silk Road.
Alright, that's the end of that video. Very good video from Feature History as usual. We have reacted to quite a few of his videos, to be honest. I know we've done like the Rise of Saddam Hussein or something like that. I can never remember the title. Soviet-Polish War. We've done Fall of Yugoslavia. We've done a lot. This is a good video. I tried to talk more for you guys. I tried to give my opinion a bit. But yeah, it's crazy. I didn't know that the Mongols went so far as to Central Europe. You know, he said Austria. That's not too far from getting all the way through Europe. And if the guy who was going that direction, I can't remember his name, didn't die, they could have quite easily conquered the entirety of Europe. As he did say, they were way more technically advanced in weaponry and stuff. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. If you did watch it till the end, leave me some feedback in the comments. What do you think? How can I improve? All that good stuff. Be sure to suggest me any videos you want me to watch and subscribe. And thank you all for watching once again, and I'll see you all next time.